Welcome back. There's been a renewed interest in the gruesome child murders that rocked the city of Atlanta, from a Netflix series to Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms requesting a new investigation into the crimes to make sure the victims aren't forgotten. Well, we've also been investigating cold cases that have been out of the spotlight in our series, CSI Atlanta. That's our crime scene investigator, Cheryl McCullum. I've been working on a couple of cases, including the mass lynchings at Morse Ford Bridge and the brutal murder of Nicole Smith, a 14-year-old from Atlanta. I recently sat down with Atlanta's mayor to discuss the importance of taking a closer look at these cold cases. Interesting, I did want to mention this. I've gone to the Atlanta Police Department for some of the cases that they've been working on, and they told me they are looking at some cases again because you specifically asked them to bring them back, find out if they could get some answers, because you were a child when some of these happened and you wanted to get some answers. How important is it to you to find answers to things like the Atlanta child murders?
It's extremely important, and to the extent that you still have family members looking for closure and looking for answers and just something to remember these children by, then I think that we have to continue to have that conversation. But even in this conversation, as we've looked at the Atlanta child murders, my husband brought up a case that I was not familiar with, a Lover's Lane case, where there were many couples, young couples who were killed in Adams Park and West Manor Park in Southwest Atlanta. So I've asked the police department to take a look at those, so thank you for highlighting that. And I even had a cousin who was murdered when I was a young girl, and I've asked the police department to look and see if there's anything there. And if there are any other family members or loved ones out there who know of cases that were never resolved, then please bring them to our attention. And it's important because many people in the Atlanta Police Department either weren't in Atlanta or weren't even alive during the Atlanta child murders and had never heard of that. And even as we've continued to turn over with personnel and generations go by, there are cases that are still unresolved that simply have been forgotten in so many ways.
And what I've learned in doing this project is technology has changed so much.
Technology has changed.
And we are able to get one of the cases, we are actually doing a photo showing what the person would look like today.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it will help, hopefully, people see, you know, yeah, I know that person, or yeah, that's Uncle so-and-so. That is so important.
It is important, and even with the Lover's Lane cases, I reached out to a couple of folk who lived in Southwest Atlanta at the time, and they said, yeah, I remember this, and, you know, talked about what the tone of the community was, and it was just fascinating to me because I was alive during that time, but I wasn't watching the 6 o'clock news, so I didn't remember these cases.
You were a child, you were little. And
absolutely.
Anything new with the child murders that we need to know about? What's going on with you've got a warehouse full of things. What's the latest with that?
So there are really two paths that we're looking at. One is the investigation itself, and with the help of T. Shields and the FBI and the GBI and District Attorney Paul Howard, in DeKalb County and other jurisdictions, we're being very methodical in how we're looking at the evidence and comparing notes, et cetera. There's also a task force that's determining a memorial, a proper memorial for the children. I am very pleased that they have chosen as the permanent site the area right outside of the mayor's office on the grounds of City Hall. And I think that's very important because long after I'm mayor and any mayor after that, you'll be able to look out from the mayor's office and the public will be able to see this lasting memorial to these young people. And it really is a reminder of what our leadership should be about. It should be about making our city better for generations. And unfortunately, these children didn't have an opportunity to experience this. They were my age. One could be mayor now. But it's important for us to tell their families we haven't forgotten them and we will never forget them.
I want to thank Mayor Bottoms for that interview. And for more on Atlanta's high-profile cold cases that I'm working on, check out CSI Atlanta, the podcast. You can find us on Apple, Google, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Stitcher. We'll be right back.